The opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of this network, their group, or other organization they may be involved with.
I'm looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of Tuesday evening news. Tuesday evening
everyone, and welcome to the Psychedelic Reporters for this Tuesday, the 2nd of July, episode 116. Here on NOK Network, the video news podcast focused on psychedelic medicine being reported in mainstream media. Shout out to the guys in Dead Ringer from Kirkland Lake, Ontario for the awesome intro track, originally recorded by the Booty Blues with some customized changes for our show. I am joined by my amazing joint host, Tara Simpson, and along with the one and only Bufo Alverius, who has chosen all of our stories for us. Hello, Tara.
Well, hello, hobbies, and hello, everyone. Great to be back after another week. We just celebrated Canada Day down here in Canada. So, yeah, it's been a great weekend. But I want to take a minute to introduce Bufo. He is our Sonoran desert toad or Colorado mud toad. Did you know he emits DMT from his skin? And while that sounds like great fun, park rangers would like to remind everyone, please don't lick that toad.
Don't lick the toad. There's other ways to get DMT now.
Absolutely. Much safer, much more controlled dosing, and also sustainably.
Yeah, right. So that's a big word. So Canada Day, is that like 4th of July?
Yeah, exactly. It's like our version of 4th of July. It's our country's big party.
Nice. And you shot off fireworks last night and had a great time.
Yeah. Mind you, I was watching racing, so I didn't hear as much. I was kind of curled up in my bed watching some drag racing last night, but I did hear them going off, and of course the dog didn't like that so much. So we don't go to the fireworks that much, but we did hear them last night.
Oh, that sounds cool. That sounds cool as heck.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Canada and you guys having your Independence Day, this first study right away comes up into where you guys are at. And it says study finds 79% of Canadians support the therapeutic use of psilocybin for people at the end of life. And this is from psilocybincubensis.canada.
Yes, this is a really exciting article. When I saw this, I was like, this is Canada. Yay. We're getting somewhere. So nearly 4 out of 5 Canadians believe that the use of psilocybin, the active ingredient in hallucinogenic mushrooms, is an acceptable medical approach to treat existential distress in patients suffering from serious or incurable diseases. This is the main conclusion of an online survey of nearly 2,800 people conducted by a research team led by Michael Dorval, professor at University of Laval, Facility of Pharmacy and researcher at the CHU du Quebec University Laval Research Center. The results have been published in the journal Palliative Medicine. The main objective of the survey was to measure the degree of social acceptability of this intervention when delivered by healthcare professionals. Studies have already shown that psilocybin combined with psychotherapy produce rapid, robust, and lasting analytic and antidepressant effects in patients suffering from advanced cancer, says Professor Dorval. This substance can bring about profound awareness that leads the patient to view existence from a different perspective. Treatment with psilocybin combined with psychotherapy can produce relief for up to 6 months. Canadian law currently prohibits the production, sale, or possession of psilocybin. Since January 2022, however, a special access program has made it possible to obtain an exemption from Health Canada for medical or scientific reasons. A doctor can apply on behalf of a patient if psychotherapy, antidepressants, and analytics have failed, or if the patient's condition requires urgent intervention. Researchers studied 1,000 residents of Quebec and 1,800 residents of Ontario, Alberta, British Columbia to find out their opinion on the potential easing of the rules surrounding the medical use of psilocybin. Analysis of their answer shows that 79% of respondents considered psilocybin-assisted therapy a reasonable medical choice to treat existential distress in patients at end of life. Wow, that's pretty cool, eh?
It is. Our results seem to indicate that the social acceptability of this intervention is high in the Canadian populations, comments Professor Dorval. If we consider any Quebec respondents, the acceptability rate is similar to the national average. Support for the psilocybin is higher among respondents who have already been exposed to palliative care, having been close to loved ones at the end of life, or having witnessed their distress, could complain their openness to new approaches designed to help at this stage of life, suggests Dorval. Support is also higher among respondents who have already used psilocybin. There are still many prejudices against psychedelic substances, says the researcher. Familiarity with the substance probability helps to better understand their true effects as well as their therapeutic potential. This study was carried out as part of Louis Plord's doctoral research at Université Laval and Faculty of Pharmacy. Researchers from McGill University, Université de Montréal, and UQuois co-authored the article published in Imperative Medicine.
What a cool article. Thank you so much, Canadians, for participating in that survey, because it's so important. Social acceptability. They're not even concerned about the medical side of it. They're like, well, can people handle this, like, socially? So that's really cool that everyone seems to be on board. There's, just a small percentage that don't get it.
Right. Well, and it kind of shows the politician was what the constituents would really like, and it's nice, these studies like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. So this next article comes from Psychedelic Spotlight. This is what psychedelic democracy looks like, celebrating the launch of Open Circle Alliance, and this is by Matthew Dunhu by June 28th.
Okay, so on Thursday, June 27th, the Open Circle Alliance held their launch party at More Than Woods Bookstore in Boston, Massachusetts. The event was a vibrant celebration of an organization dedicated to advancing the cause of psychedelic therapy, particularly for those who need it most. Open Circle Alliance, with its compelling mission and inspiring leadership, is poised to make significant waves in the world of mental health and wellness. The vision and mission of Open Circle Alliance. Open Circle Alliance is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the responsible integration of psychedelic therapies into society. Their mission is to promote education, advocacy, and community building around therapeutic potential of psychedelics. The Alliance aims to create a supportive ecosystem for individuals and communities exploring the benefit of these transformative therapies. Central to their mission is the belief that psychedelics can play a crucial role in addressing some of the most pressing mental health challenges of our time. From post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, to anxiety and addiction, these substances have shown promise in clinical settings. And Open Circle Alliance is committed to making these therapies accessible to those who need them most. That is cool.
It is cool. 3 founding members, pioneers in psychedelic advocacy. Open Circle Alliance was founded by 3 remarkable women, each bringing a unique perspective and a wealth of experience to the organization. Rebecca Slater is a co-founder with a background in social work and deep commitment to mental health. Rebecca has been a tireless advocate for integrating psychedelic therapies into mainstream treatment options. Her work has been instrumental in shaping the Alliance's education and advocacy efforts. Stephanie Jones is also a co-founder, and Stephanie is a seasoned public policy expert with extensive experience in drug policy reform. Her sights into regulatory landscape and her ability to navigate complex political environments have been invaluable to the Alliance's mission of promoting responsible psychedelic use. Emily Wanchuk, co-founder, is Emily is a leading voice in psychedelic therapy community. Her dedication to advancing research and her personal journey with psychedelics have made her a passionate advocate for therapeutic potential. Emily's focuses work on ensuring that these therapies are accessible to all, particularly underserved populations like veterans suffering from PTSD.
Wow. So extended visibility, a closer look at Emily Wanchuk. Emily Wanchuk involvement in the realm of psychedelic therapy was a catalyst by her personal transformative encounters. Her journey into understanding the therapeutic potential of psychedelics led her to advocate passionately for their accessibility. From grassroots efforts to speaking engagements at national forums, Emily has consistently championed the healing capabilities of these substances. In an interview with Worcester's Business Journal, Emily underscored the pivotal role community in the healing process. She articulated psychedelics have the potential to break down barriers and foster deep connections. At One Circle Alliance, we are building a community that supports individuals in their healing journeys, providing them with resources and connections that they need to thrive. And that was a quote from Worcester's Business Journal. The broader implications, why One Circle Alliance matters. In a political climate that often fails to recognize the importance of making powerful psychedelic therapies available, the work of One Circle Alliance is more important than ever. Mental health crises are on the rise, and traditional treatments are not always effective. Psychedelic therapies offer a new approach, one that has shown promise in numerous studies and clinical trials. Groups like One Circle Alliance are at the forefront of this movement, advocating for responsible integration of psychedelics into our healthcare system. Their work is not just about advancing a cause, it's about changing lives. Veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, individuals struggling with depression and anxiety, and many others stand to benefit from the therapies that One Circle Alliance is working to make accessible. It's important to bring awareness to grassroots organizations and events like these, because where our politicians fail us, our body politic endeavors to take meaningful, organized, and eloquent action. Okay, I thought I was reading that right.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite words because it's eloquently said. So,
Right.
getting involved for those interested in supporting the work of Open Circle Alliance, there are several ways to get involved. The Alliance offers educational resources, advocacy opportunities, and community events designed to promote understanding and support for psychedelic therapies. Whether you're a healthcare professional, a policy advocate, or simply someone who believes in the potential of psychedelics to heal, Open Circle Alliance welcomes your involvement. You can learn more about their work and how to get involved by visiting their website at opencirclealliance.org. There you'll find information on their initiatives, upcoming events, and ways to support their mission. Why it matters. The launch of Open Circle is one example of numerous beacons of hope springing up across the country and elsewhere in the world of mental health and wellness. As we continue to face mind boggling challenges and roadblocks to sensibly policy reform in our healthcare system, organizations like this are leading the way toward new and initiative solutions. At Psychedelic Spotlight, we are proud to support their work and share the message with our readers. The work of Rebecca Slater, Stephanie Jones, and Emily Wenchuk is a testament to what can be achieved when passionate individuals come together with a shared vision. Their dedication to advancing psychedelic therapies and the commitment making these treatments accessible to all are inspiring. This is what democracy in action looks like. In a world where political debates often overshadow real solutions and energized discourse, Open Circle Alliance is a reminder that change is possible. By supporting the work, we can bring powerful therapies to those who need to create brighter future for those in need. Visit opencirclealliance.org. Wow, dude, that was a good article. I mean, we know they're popping up. That one company just last week bought like new research building in hopes of it.
Absolutely. And a lot of this, again, coming from grassroots to bringing it to the forefront has been a long movement. And again, done by people who benefited and brought awareness to, hey, this actually works. And let's pressure our politicians into giving us access. So those groups have been around for a long, long time, but they're finally getting some recognition in mainstream media, which that's huge. And the fact that they can back up what they're saying by all these clinical studies that we've been bringing to the forefront on psychedelic reporters. So they're not wrong. They're advocating for patients and accessibility, which again is so important because not everyone has thousands and thousands of dollars to travel to a retreat center. These are patients. A lot of them are struggling to just make ends meet because of their depression and anxiety, and not being able to just gain employment because of their issues. And they need this. But how do they pay for it? So accessibility is going to be the big key. And these grassroots organizations have been advocates for accessibility over profit for a very long time. So let's hope we continue.
So this next article is a whole country is now getting on board, and this is coming to us from LATimes.com. This is Mexico may legalize magic mushrooms. Will this traditional medicine lose its meaning? And this is by Leila Miller, and there's a photograph by Alejandra. Hotla, Mexico. No, that's how you say that, eh?
I think so. I think it's, I don't know. I have a hard time with weird pronunciations.
Right. Well, you get to say Alejandrina's name right off the bat.
Yeah. Alejandrina Pedro Castanda opened a brown paper package and pulled out a handful of magic mushrooms, which many residents of this indigenous Oaxacan town tenderly refer to as child saints or the little ones that sprout. That's so cute. I like that. Then she handed each of her 6 visitors, who had driven 7 hours from Mexico City and paid up to $350 apiece for a healing retreat, a generously sized portion, prompting a few dubious looks. It was nighttime, and the guests were sitting in a hut that was barely illuminated by 2 candles, making it difficult for them to see what they were about to eat. Pedro Castanda has used mushrooms in her healing practice for years and was comfortable stepping outside the group, crunching slowly in silence. One person said the fungi tasted like stale popcorn. Another tasted dirt. The healer returned a few minutes later. "Now we're starting the trip," she said. "Let's go to work." Indigenous communities in Mexico have long considered psychedelic mushrooms to be intermediaries to the spiritual world, but their growing popularity outside of Mexico has spurred a debate over who should have access to them and whether science and indigenous medicine can or should be reconciled. Some indigenous healers are courting tourists. Scientists interested in their chemical properties have been studying mushrooms in hopes of developing treatments for depression and other mental health problems. And growing demand from recreational users has fueled a thriving black market. Wow.
Currently, the fungi can only be used in indigenous rituals or in government-approved research, but a Senate bill proposes making psilocybin, a psychedelic compound in the mushrooms, more widely available. In addition to making the psilocybin available to anyone with a doctor's prescription, the bill would permit therapy that uses the actual mushroom that a government office of traditional medicine would help regulate. It also calls for scientific research on indigenous medicine and providing compensation to the indigenous people for patents involving their traditions. The bill supporters say that they're trying to protect indigenous medicine by making sure the traditional use of mushrooms is enshrined into law. But the prospect of expanding the availability of magic mushrooms has created friction in indigenous communities that have used them for centuries. Will the spirituality association with the traditional medicine be lost? Ooh.
Ooh, that is the question, right? I've heard that doing the medicine close to where its traditional roots are is supposed to be that much more powerful. But I mean, do we know, right? Magic mushrooms have been used in Mesoamerican religious rituals since pre-Hispanic times. A mural from the ancient city of Tolhuacan, just outside Mexico City, shows the Toltec rain god Tlaloc with the 2 figures alongside him holding mushrooms that have risen from where his raindrops fell. Franciscan missionary documenting 16th century life in New Spain referred to the mushrooms as the flesh of the gods. But it wasn't until the 1950s that a New York banker and mushroom enthusiast named R. Gordon Wasson made Mexico's magic mushrooms famous, perhaps too famous in the Western world. On a trip to Huatula, southern Mexico, he ate mushrooms with indigenous Mazatec healer Maria Sabina. Now, she is something, I tell you. And wrote about the experience in the 1957 article for Life magazine titled "Seeking the Magic Mushroom." The story inspired thousands to travel to Huatula, some seeking out Sabina. The Mexican press described the foreigners as addicts, and the military ultimately set up a checkpoint on the road to Huatula to try and block the outsiders. In July 1970, Reuters reported hundreds of hippies are braving imprisonment and fines to penetrate this mushroom paradise in the state of Oaxaca, I can't pronounce that, where the authorities are conducting a drive against mushroom eaters. Oh my God. Wow. Talk about prohibition.
But Wasson said he felt guilty about the crowds in a New York Times op-ed published later that year. A humble, out-of-the-way town had been overrun by a torrent of commercial exploitation of the vilest kind. The old ways are dead, he wrote, and I fear my responsibility is heavy, mine and Maria Sabrina's. In an interview toward the end of her life, Sabrina described how some outsiders would take the mushrooms at whatever time or whatever place and don't use them to cure themselves of a sickness. From the moment of the foreigners have arrived to search for God, she said, the saint children lost their purity. In the mid-20th century, psilocybin was classified as a Schedule I substance in the U.S., which put the kibosh on research. But interest in scientific research on mental health and psilocybin was rekindled in the 1990s. Psilocybin is thought to boost neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections, and research indicates that may be successful in treating depression and anxiety and substance abuse. Parts of the United States have legalized or decriminalized the substance. Oakland decriminalized magic mushrooms in 2019. The plasticity enhancement may allow it to shift how their brain is functioning into a mode that's more helpful, more adaptive, that's going to promote mental health, said Greg Fonzo, who co-directs the Center for Psychedelic Research and Therapy at the Dell Medical School at the University of Texas in Austin. Some people who ingest magic mushrooms report overwhelming feelings of joy or the presence of family. Others have said they deeply sad or they have an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
The risk of a lethal overdose is considered very low, Fonzo said. What's more common is having a difficult experience or bad trip due to anxiety. Pedro Castaneda, who compares the bill with his birth certificate, supports the legislation insisting the world must not forget the Mazateks, as well as other indigenous communities, have preserved rituals with magic mushrooms for years. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, eh? The medicine is not protected now. It's out of control, she said. Everyone has it in their homes like cannabis, she said, referring to the black market purchases. What we need is a record that says that the Mazateks are the custodians. The Mazateks are the ones that for millennia have defended the medicine. But other Mazateks in Hattula are worried about appropriation and misuse, and that traditions associated with Indigenous culture will be disrespected as the increasing numbers of people rush to pick up their prescriptions. In an Indigenous mushroom ceremony, the healer will use mushrooms to communicate with their spiritual world, to inquire about a patient's illness. A patient may also experience revelations. If the bill passes, it will be taken like an aspirin, said Isaac Escudero Rodriguez, a local doctor. It will no longer have the spirituality that it carries for us. The push to legalize magic mushrooms in Mexico dates back to the early days of the pandemic. Alejandro Lagunas, 52, a senator in Mexico's National Congress, started to experience anxiety attacks that were reminiscent of the severe depression she suffered from in her 20s. The depression from decades ago, she said, was resolved after she took ayahuasca, a psychoactive brew made from the Amazonian Banisteriopsis capia vine with an indigenous healer. Lagunas researched psychedelics and introduced legislation in November to increase access to magic mushrooms while recognizing the long tradition of indigenous medicine. She hopes it will open the door for non indigenous Mexicans to learn from indigenous practices. The initiative has supported a Mexico's National Institute of Psychiatry, where scientists have government permission to investigate the potential therapeutics of magic mushrooms. Jesus Maria Gonzalez Mercical, a clinical psychologist in Mexico City who has advised the senator, said much can be learned from traditional medicine, including the importance of companionship with the Mazatec mushroom ceremonies. These ceremonies occur at night under the guidance of a healer with candles, flowers, incense, and an altar with Catholic images. Patients' family members may accompany them. The result, Mascarell said, is a space of care and protection so the person can explore their inner world in a context that's safe, trustworthy, and ethical. And that's what Mexico City psychotherapist Oscar O'Finnerell is trying to teach his students. O'Finnerell runs a master's and doctoral degree program affiliated with the National School of Psychologists and Experts in Mexico, where his approximately dozen students listen to indigenous guest speakers talk about traditional medicine. He schedules group therapies in his home, a 2-story house where a large container on his kitchen counter has powder from lion's mane, a non-psychedelic mushroom that he takes with his morning coffee. Indigenous healers have led students through ceremonies with mushrooms, peyote, and bufo. They smoke the secretions of the Sonoran desert toad. Yeah, baby. Psychiatry in this moment can't understand what psilocybin as if it doesn't understand all the aspects of the customs and indigenous people, he said. Like it or not, the mushrooms have spirit. But Eros Quintero, a biologist who co-founded the Mexican Society of Psilocybin in 2019, said he would have preferred that indigenous communities were not singled out in a bill that psilocybin simply be reclassified.
Wow. Indigenous people, he said, may not view illness through the prism of Western science. In Mazatec culture, for example, people may believe that a person fell ill because they walked through a cave where spirits are thought to reside or broke a communal rule. They have their own traditions and their own way of seeing things, and what we've seen is there are few who are interested in what interested in with psilocybin, he said. Love presents itself as a place for the mushroom seeker. Taxis decorated with images of small mushrooms speed up and down the narrow mountain roads that are lined with tin roofed houses. In summer, when the mushrooms are in season, locals wait by a bus terminal to offer the fungi to tourists. Prices vary, but a dozen pairs of mushrooms, they're sold by pair, may cost $25, and a ceremony can cost $90 or more. After mushroom season, the fungi are often preserved in jars with honey. Several signs announce the home of the family of Maria Sabina, who died in poverty in 1985, but whose life has been celebrated in Mexican culture. Her descendants, who live on the property where Sabina once resided, maintain a small museum filled with portraits of the healer and sell mushroom-themed crafts. And Selma Garcia Martinez, a farmer and a great-grandson of Sabina, says he was about 6 when he tried mushrooms for the first time during a ceremony with relatives who accompanied a sick family member. Many other locals say they first consumed mushrooms as children as well. Like some other residents, he said he didn't mind if mushrooms are allowed outside indigenous rituals because the general public already has access to them through the black market. But he issued a reminder for us the Mazateks. It's something sacred. 100. Wow, dude. That's Luina says she invited indigenous people to the forums she has sponsored, and last year she posted a video on the social media platform X that showed her with several healers and indigenous people in Huatala. They are presented her with a baton that she said she carried to bring the voice and knowledge of ancestral medicine to the place that it deserves. But some opponents have said that the Mazatec people haven't been properly consulted on whether the bill should move forward, reminding supporters that for the moment there is no infrastructure to make it happen. Santos Martinez, one of the co-founders of Caracol Mazateco, a civil society group focused on preserving Mazatec culture, agrees there hasn't been enough outreach to the Mazatecs. Martinez said the experience with magic mushroom transformed his life. As a medical student working at a clinic in the state of Pueblo, he fell into depression after seeing patients suffer from inadequate care. He returned to his community in Huatala, where he participated in mushroom ceremonies, hoping they would help find him direction in his life. During ceremonies, he felt happy and had visions of family members, including his grandfather. If it was as if he was saying, Adelante, hijo, he said, or go forward, son. Francisco Javier Hernandez Garcia, a healer who leads mushroom ceremonies for tourists almost daily at some points of the summer, fears the mushrooms will lose respect if they are legalized for therapy outside the indigenous context. Wow.
Wow, some really cool pictures there. Like others, he spoke about mushrooms as carrying wisdom. They sprout because they are waiting for that person, he said, referring to the ones who will eat them. They already know who carries problems. In mid-April, O'Farrell organized a trip for 6 people, including himself, to visit Pedro Castenda for the healing retreat. 2 people, a man who works for a Wall Street asset management firm and a woman training to guide people during mushroom trips, had flown in from the USA. A mother and daughter, both psychologists, and a literary editor were from Mexico. They spent 3 days in the home of Pedro Castenda, who lives with 8 dogs in a house that has several floors under construction. She hosts a mushroom ceremony for locals or tourists once or twice a week, and said that the Great Spirit tells her how many mushrooms to give each person. The members of O'Farrell's group had individual therapy sessions with Pedro Castenda, in which she asked them about their insecurities. After her guests ate mushrooms, Pedro Castenda asked several of them to sing. At one point, the editor began to suddenly cry, and the younger psychologist said she felt pain, prompting the healer to rigorously brush her with a feather in a cleansing ritual. A few minutes later, the psychologist said she was having visions of injustice in jail. The next morning, the group hiked, mostly barefoot, the mountain of adoration, which the Maztecs consider sacred. At the top of the mountain, which overlooked Hitula, the healer gave each person cacao beans to leave as an offering, giving thanks for the previous night. They placed them on a tower of rocks jutting out from the mountains next to the many mounds of cacao left earlier by other visitors. Wow, that's cool.
Huh. That's a good article, and they got good good reason to be scared of the sacredness taken out of spirituality. However, more are going to be able to experience the sacredness. So
I think part of the sacredness is having respect for the medicine. You're not taking it just to get wacky, crazy. Like, you're taking it because you need answers. You want to solve problems. You want to heal. I think that that's what I'm getting from, it being ceremonial, right? You're there for a reason. You've been guided there for a reason versus just, I'm going to go party tonight and take a handful of mushrooms and see what happens. Maybe that's more the sacredness of the ceremony, right?
Right. And that leads us into medication time.
That's right. It's time to pay some bills. So stay tuned for a word from some of our sponsors, and then we'll return with more articles that Bufo has chosen, making mainstream media news.
Back in 4 minutes and 20 seconds here on the Psychedelic Reporters on NOK Network.
NOK Network presents Ganja News Update. Join joint host Puppets Simpson and Ron McNabb as they bring you the global cannabis news update. Catch the Ganja News Reporters weekly on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as they cover cannabis news from around the globe in a 60-minute video news podcast. Stay up to date with Ganja News Update, Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Follow and subscribe to NOK Network on your webpage, social media, and streaming sites, including Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and Rumble.
Psychedelic Tuesdays on NOK Network. Tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Psychedelic Report. Bufo Alverius is scouring the newsletters, stories being reported in mainstream media on psychedelic records and passing them on to hobby puppets and Puppets Simpson so they can bring you, our listeners, in this 60-minute video news podcast. Join us for Tuesday Evening News, weekly at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for all your news and information in the world of psychedelic medicine. Follow and subscribe to NOK Network on our webpage, social media, and streaming sites, including YouTube and Rumble.
Put it away for 30 minutes a day on IWK. The IWK 710 Daily Sesh is a virtual gathering where consumers meet up or a toke and some laughs at 7 p.m. Eastern nightly. Originally aired on Info with Kim's social media page, the IWK 710 Daily Sesh is now also podcasted on NOK Network. Rotating joint hosts bring you a variety of content during this 30-minute virtual smoke sesh. Take a break from the stresses in life and put it away for 30 minutes a day on IWK. Podcasted nightly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NOK Network.
Advertising space available at NOK. Contact us for a rate sheet at NOKNetwork.com. Send us a message on our social media platforms or email us at info@NOKNetwork.com.
Hey, dudes and dudettes. Enjoy the show, man.
Hey, we're back from our medication session live on Psychedelic Reporters here on NOK Network.
Then we have another set of stories coming at you from the realm of psychedelic medicine. So let's get at it. Alrighty. Man, I smoked a heck of a dab.
Nice.
All right, so right here. So this next article comes hrexecutive.com. This was a heck of a read. So psychedelic assisted therapy, the beginning of a health benefits trend. And this is written to us by Dawn Kawamoto.
Yeah, so this is interesting. This is something we've kind of talked about before about maybe, it being covered under benefits. So with employee mental health among employers' top workforce concerns, some HR leaders are starting to seek solutions that are outside of the box. Among the more non-traditional strategies, employers are considering ketamine treatments and psychedelic-assisted therapy, which involves the supervised use of small doses of mushrooms, ecstasy, or LSD. Driven by employee interest, a small but growing number of employers are incorporating coverage for such therapies into their health plans to help workers manage mental health conditions that haven't improved with traditional treatments, says Paul Froston, Director of Health Benefits Research at the Employee Benefit Research Institute. In fact, last year, 17% of U.S. employers said they had a vested interest in psychedelic-assisted clinical therapy for their employees, according to a survey of more than 500 employee benefit decision makers by benefit consultant NFP. Wow, that's cool.
Possible solution to a mental health crisis. In 2022, mental health benefits and insurance startup Anthea became the first licensed provider of health benefit plans offering employers ketamine-assisted therapy treatments as an auxiliary benefit offering. Currently, it's the only offering ketamine, which technically falls outside of the psychedelics category. It is a dissociative drug approved by the FDA for use in general anesthesia. Like some other FDA-approved drugs that manufacturer later discovers can provide unrelated benefits, such as diabetes medication Ozempic, now being used for weight loss. Ketamine is now recognized for its potential combat treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, and addiction. Over the past 2 years, Anthea's customer base has grown from one employer with about 200 employees to 20 employers, representing more than 150,000 employees, says Sherry Ray, CEO of Anthea. By late September, Anthea plans to expand its health plan to cover psychedelics-assisted therapy treatments in few states where it is allowed. Currently, federal law makes psychedelics like MDMA, LSD, and psilocybin illegal to possess or consume. However, 2 states have adopted laws permitting the use of psychedelics for therapy, and similar efforts are underway in a handful of other states. Interest in psychedelic gatherers stem around the country. According to the USC Berkeley Center for Science of Psychedelics, more than 60% of Americans believe the drug should be allowed for regulated therapeutic use, while nearly half of Americans should be able to use the drugs recreationally. Wow.
Wow, yeah. This comes amid continued concerns about mental health both inside and outside of work. 90% of Americans believe the nation is in a mental health crisis, and 77% of employers report a rise in their workforce's mental health needs, according to a 2024 healthcare strategy survey by Business Group on Health. In response, 94% of large employers have strengthened their mental health coverage with new offerings in the past 3 years, according to a 2023 Mercer study of more than 300 employers. HR leaders may be exploring non-traditional offerings like psychedelic and ketamine-assisted therapy treatments, in part because of the significant business impact of employees' untreated mental health illness, says Reyes. Unchecked mental health conditions can cost employers $3.7 trillion each year in failed treatment costs, lost productivity, and absenteeism, according to Health Canal. Wow. About ketamine and psychedelics. Esketamine, derived from ketamine and used as a nasal spray, was approved by the FDA in 2019 to combat treatment-resistant depression. Although ketamine has yet to be approved by the FDA to treat similar mental health conditions as ketamine, ketamine treatment centers have sprung up across the nation. Ketamine can help with treatment-resistant depression, as well as reducing anxiety, social adjustment disorder, and substance abuse through a combination of therapy and the drug, according to a BJ Psych Open report. Research studies have shown ketamine can have a rapid effect on depression compared to conventional pharmacotherapy, which usually takes 4 to 12 weeks before symptoms improve, according to an Indian Journal of Psychiatry report. As for psychedelic-assisted therapy, psilocybin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, can be used to treat mental health conditions like major depression. Oregon is the only state in the nation where licensed psilocybin providers operate. Their treatment centers offer licensed facilitators who prepare patients for their hallucinogenic experience, stay with the patient during the process, and then assist the patient in integrating that experience according to their mental health treatment plan. A recent Johns Hopkins study of psilocybin found approximately 30% of treatment-resistant patients with major depressive disorders could keep depression at bay for up to 4 years after taking the drug. Wow.
Other psychedelics undergoing testing to treat mental health issues include MDMA, also known as ecstasy, and Molly for post-traumatic stress syndrome, and LSD for reducing anxiety. Started in 2017, the Food and Drug Administration granted breakthrough therapy designations for some psychedelics, including psilocybin, MDMA, and LSD. The designation allows the manufacturer to expedite the development and review of their drugs because they treat a severe condition. Full FDA approval of the drugs for therapeutic use could drive federal legalization. The FDA is expected to issue a final decision in mid-August on whether MDMA can be used to treat PTSD. Some states have already passed and or are seeking to pass legal legislation to legalize psilocybin service centers, as Oregon did in 2020 and Colorado did in 2022. We're hoping employers in those states will start to see the benefits of the services and see it as an employee benefit to help reduce the costs of those services for their employees, says Britt Collins, CEO of the National Psychedelics Association. Other states are also moving to legalize psychedelics for treatment, Rollins notes, including Massachusetts, Illinois, Utah, and California.
Wow. So ROI on psychedelic assisted therapy. Employers with over 100 workers will likely notice cost savings when they allowing employees to use ketamine assisted and psychedelic assisted therapy treatments, says John Tillery, co-founder and partner of insurance broker Whiteboard Risk and Insurance Solutions and a customer of Enthea. For example, traditional treatments for depression could involve twice a month therapy sessions and antidepressant medications at an employer's cost of about $12,000 to $14,000 a year, Tillery says. Large employers would pay substantially less for a complete course of ketamine treatment for depression. And Theas Reyes says the cost to employers for three preparation, 6 administration, and 8 integration sessions would range from $2,400 to $8,000, depending on the location and other factors. Reyes says annual follow-up sessions, if needed, would cost employers about $500, she says. Employers with fewer than 100 employees, such as Whiteboard Risk and Insurance Solutions with 50 employees across the globe, would pay more for a complete ketamine treatment course, Tillery says. Regardless, Whiteboard signed up with Enthea a month ago for healthcare coverage of ketamine-assisted therapy. If the FDA approves other psychedelics like psilocybin and MDMA for therapeutic use, Tillery says Whiteboard will include those in its health plan too. For me, people come and choose to work for us and spend most of their lives with us. So we're going to try and provide the highest quality employee benefits, he said. We probably had about 8 employees go through some kind of psychedelic assisted therapy like ketamine, and the results have been life-changing for all of them. Wow.
Challenges to offering psychedelic assisted therapy. Among the factors that may hold some employers back from covering psychedelic or ketamine assisted treatments are questions about what it means within society to offer this coverage. When we were growing up, there was a very strong campaign on the war on drugs, Rain says, but it's very inaccurate and encapsulate all drugs under that campaign. The challenges are the rewiring and changing how people think about those medicines. Employers may also face questions about safety concerns that escalated following the death last year of actor Matthew Perry due to acute effects of ketamine, according to Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office. No employer wants a story associated with them offering a benefit involving ketamine. And having something negative happen like that happened with Matthew Perry, Samantine said. The future of psychedelic healthcare coverage, although employer interest is increasing, it's still in its infancy, says Franstein. We're sort of the beginning of a trend right now, and trends tend to start with small numbers, which is where at right now. We're at a point where we'll start to see if it becomes a mainstream benefit or not, says Franstein. It's too soon to predict where it will go. But if the FDA approves MDMA to treat people with post-traumatic stress disorder, it may lead to a substantial change in employers covering such therapies, he notes. FDA approval could be a defining moment for this benefit, Franstein says. The legal issues have to be resolved, but that doesn't mean the benefits is going to take off once it's approved. Many employers don't want to be the first to roll out a new benefit, he says, preferring to watch how it works for others, he added. There's a lot of change happening, and we'll have to see where psychedelics go.
Wow. That's pretty awesome, eh?
That is pretty awesome. And they pretty much, I wanted to read that last article, but I can wait until next week.
I think we should, because it's a really in-depth one. And sneak peek, everyone, it's on ibogaine, which we've covered before, but it's not as big in mainstream as some of the other psychedelics, but this is a really good one. So I think that to cover it appropriately, we need to leave this one for next week.
Yeah, and the article actually has a link when we read it next week. So check that out. We'll talk about the link where you and your family can go to a place and see if you can get into a study for these different psychedelic like stuff. So that's why I like that link.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll save that one for next week. That's going to be a great one. We'll start off with that one. So tune in next week, everyone.
Well, thank you for joining us here on Psychedelic Reporters on NOK Network and for tuning in to our video podcast on NOK Network's Rumble and YouTube pages, as well as our social media sites.
That's right. We hope you've enjoyed your update on mainstream media coverage of psychedelic medicine advancements from around the globe.
Many thanks to our sponsors and to my joint host, Tara Simpsons, and to Bufo Alverius for choosing the stories, and to you, our listeners, for joining each week on Psychedelic Tuesday. Let's hear from Dead Ringer again from Kirkland Lake on our way out. Woo!
Night!
Night!
Looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of